Guys, our suspicions are confirmed. Izzy's next fight is happening at 205, and he's fighting Jan Blachowicz. We're breaking it down right now. What's up, Barnhill family? Welcome back to the channel.
Yo.
Nikki, how we doing today?
Great. Just back from jiu-jitsu, a little bit of rest time before we go to Muay Thai tonight. So no better way to kill the time than a podcast.
That's right. And I always feel like I'm more level-headed after a good roll
to
do the podcast. I feel like I'm on my A game then.
Yeah.
Let's hope this podcast lives up to that.
Yeah, it clears the mind a little bit. You get to talk about fights, and we always go to jiu-jitsu class or Muay Thai, and we talk more fights, so it's fresh on our minds. And obviously, this is some big news in MMA. We got Jan Blachowicz getting the fight that he deserves, the fight that he wanted in Israel Adesanya.
Yeah, absolutely. And like I was saying on the video we cut last week when we were kind of speculating on who Izzy might fight next, the names were flying around, and Jan Blachowicz was at least my front runner for who it was going to be. You know, it didn't seem like the Robert Whittaker fight, that even Robert himself was not eager to make that at least right away.
Right.
We probably will see him in there with somebody like a Paulo Costa or somebody like that, which really did kind of open this void. And then we talked about maybe it would be the winner of Jack Hermanson and Darren Till. But as you pointed out, and some others as well, you know, Jared Cannonier has a win over Jack Hermanson. So how does he jump in? So just some weird, confusing things at 185. And when you have a star that's rising as much as Israel Adesanya is right now, you got to you got to put him across the cage from somebody that brings some excitement and brings some talking points. And I think Jan Blachowicz definitely does that.
Right. For the promotion, it makes all the sense in the world. It's very rare that you have somebody who can possibly run two divisions, get two belts, and carry them simultaneously. It's almost impossible to find somebody that is a champion, eager to fight, and doesn't really have an available dance partner. So the best thing for the UFC to do right now is to give him, double the work and make him earn another title, because like you said, I mean, the 185, while there are some great matchups that we'd like to see, they're not right. The timing is not right for them. So we'll just have to wait, let those guys kind of figure out who the number one next guy that they're going to throw to Izzy is. And in the meantime, it makes a lot of sense for him, because Jan Blachowicz, while there are some fun fights for him at 205 as well, it makes a lot of sense to try to bring him up, bring his name up, bring his notoriety up, which would help the 205 division in total by giving him one of the biggest stars the UFC has to date.
Yeah, and this is the perfect fight to make while 185 figures out who the undeniable number one contender is. The person who you say, well, maybe it's a rematch. Maybe it's Whittaker again, but Whittaker goes and knocks out Paulo Costa just by way of example, not suggesting that would be the outcome of that fight, but it certainly could be. Then, okay, maybe you're talking about Robert after that, which gives the appropriate amount of time for 185 to sort itself out.
Yeah, Robert will become the undeniable number one contender sooner or later. And I'm assuming it'll be sooner. I think he's going to become the number one contender, even though he already is, after a 3-fight win streak, and he's been looking better and better and better ever since his loss to Izzy. I think it makes a lot of sense that they get back in the octagon again, but not so soon. So let him do his thing. I think with the way he's playing this, it's not common. You don't see this practice. You don't see this type of opportunity get brushed away a little bit by somebody like Robert, like any fighter. But for him right now, it seems to make sense. Like, the fans aren't really asking for him and Izzy. He's not really asking for it. Izzy's not really asking for it. Why try to fight a fight that you're not going to win? And I'm not saying the punches and the kicks, the gaining the masses to come behind you on that one.
Yeah.
So Robert Whittaker's doing the right thing, just beating everybody that thinks they're the next guy, and eventually Izzy's going to go, well, he's run through everybody. Nobody can get over the mountain that is Robert Whittaker. So me and him will run it back.
Yeah, and then if you look at the other side of this equation of this fight, it's Jan Blachowicz.
Yeah.
It's like we said when Jan grabbed the title from Reyes in spectacular fashion.
Yeah.
He's here for a good time, not a long time.
Very true.
John Jones we saw pick up that title at a very young age, and you had some suspensions and some stuff happen, which caused Jan to lose the title and gain it back. But ultimately, Jan has run that division for the last decade.
Right.
That will not be the case with Jan Blachowicz, because a decade from now, he will be 47 years old.
Right.
So Jan Blachowicz needs, for his legacy and for his bank account, to take on some big fights and do some big things. And while 205 did get hot there for a minute with some exciting prospects, Johnny Walker, people like that, Dominic Reyes even, they all have lost now. Things have cooled off just a little bit.
Right.
And so now this undeniable number one contender at 205 isn't necessarily there anymore.
Right.
So when you think of the X's and O's of this fight, I think this is going to be a great fight, because you have Israel Adesanya, who is giving up a little bit of size, but on the flip side does have a little bit of range. And we know Izzy likes to use his range. We know Izzy likes to set shots up and keep people at bay and come in and engage on his terms. Jan Blachowicz is a fighter who doesn't really allow you to engage on your terms. He has these sort of bursts where he comes forward. And if you look at the Luke Rockhold fight, and then you look at most recently the Dominic Reyes fight, he's very good at negating a reach advantage. He gets inside, almost like this inside Mike Tyson-esque boxing, and he knocked Rockhold and Reyes out, finished them the same way with this short front hook
power
that just put the lights out, and he's got some tremendous power. So I do see this fight being much more competitive than Paulo Costa versus Israel Adesanya. I think Israel is going to have to earn his paycheck and earn that 205 belt.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you. I think the Polish power is very real. I think Jan Blachowicz is more than just a heavy-handed fighter. I think he has more than a puncher's chance. I think that he's coming into this with some tools and some skills that Izzy's going to have to watch out for. I also am willing to say that Israel Adesanya is the far better striker, and this fight will largely take place on the feet.
Yes.
I know that's going to happen, but he can't go, he can't just go stand in front of Jan Blachowicz and try to pick him apart without even respecting his power at all. He's going to have to, get moving his feet and get around the octagon, use the space that he's been given. And Jan's going to have to come up with a good game plan. I mean, you saw the stillness and the lack of motion that Yoel Romero did against Izzy didn't really work out for him. It was kind of a dangerous thing because Izzy hadn't seen it. It's always hard to fight somebody when they're doing something that you've never seen before. But then again, you can't just come at Izzy like a Frankenstein style, straightforward, walk him down type of thing, because
that gives him what he wants.
He picks those people apart. You have to kind of try to mix it up, kind of like how Kelvin Gastelum did against him. You have to kind of get inside with long combinations and make it a dogfight for Izzy. Izzy's very good moving backwards, but he's better at counter striking. And when you have him moving backwards and you kind of get in these flurries with him, that's when you have your best chance to catch him and catch him off guard and stuff like that. And I think Jan's got to make this a little bit of a dirty match. Yeah. I think he's got to, use some of this power. And I think Izzy's a very good stand-up grappler as far as takedown defense goes. But I think if Jan can work on some clinch stuff and utilizing his size and his power, it will work out for him in not only slowing Izzy's gas tank down, but also getting some dirty boxing inside.
Yeah, and when you talk about where Jan potentially has the advantage, I would have to point back to the Kelvin Gastelum fight. When Kelvin had his moments, it was when he got inside the boxing range and was able to come with some short hooks and land some and use those hooks to set up some great straight punches that he landed. So Jan will be looking to do exactly the same thing.
Yeah.
Israel Adesanya, when you look at his record, is unblemished, 20-0 with 15 knockouts. We know Izzy's a counter striker. He's not a run forward type of guy. But that said, he always, at least 75% of the fights that he's been in, has found a way to land that finishing shot. And so I do believe this fight will be much more entertaining and much more competitive than the Costa fight, because I think it's going to be who can impose their will. Jan's going to be trying to close that range. He's going to be trying to hit those short shots. And Izzy's going to be trying to get Jan out of range a little bit to maybe set up not so much a boxing range, but more of a kickboxing range where he can land a head kick or something like that. I would like to point out two things about Jan Blachowicz that I think are worth noting. One is that he tore Dominic Reyes' body up with body kicks.
Yes.
Look for him to do that against Izzy. Izzy's got a smaller stature. You know, if you really rattle those heavy 205 Polish thunderous body kicks on Izzy, he's not going to be able to take too many of those before he starts to slow down. Also, Jan Blachowicz has 9 submissions on his record, actually one more than he has knockouts.
Wow.
So he's got 8 knockouts, 9 submissions. I'm not suggesting to you that this fight is going to end in submission or take place on the ground, but it is worth noting that one fighter is a black belt in jiu-jitsu and has 9 submissions. The other is not a black belt and has no submissions to his record. So it's something to talk about, at least. It's something that if the fight does end up on the ground, maybe you can put that in the back of your mind and say, this might go a little bit differently than I had thought. That is not my prediction. I do believe this fight stays on the feet. However, I think that's worth noting.
Yeah, I agree with you. And I was unfamiliar with his grappling record and how he was on the ground. But that's very impressive. And obviously Izzy's going to know that going into it. And I do see Izzy's takedown defense getting better and better with every fight. And I don't really see Jan trying to go for many takedowns. But if it does, I guess he's got another tool to pull out there, and a skill set that's probably a little bit better than Izzy's on the ground at least.
Yeah, as we were preparing for this video, I went and watched some of Jan's old fights and looked up and read his record and in its entirety. And I was surprised because as of late, Jan's been the knockout king. Yeah, you know, with these nasty front hooks. You know, he's finished Dominic Reyes with it, finished Luke Rockhold with it, finished Corey Anderson with a beautiful power hook, and then a hammer fist thereafter. So when you watch him, you think, man, this guy is just a knockout artist.
Right.
Actually, if you look at his whole record, he doesn't have all that many knockouts as far as percentage goes. It's just as of late.
Right.
And he actually does have more submissions, which actually surprised me.
And when he touches you, you go out. It's just one of those things where he's not known as like a punches and bunches type of guy. He touches your chin with an accurate shot and you go to sleep. You know, you're right about the leg kicks and the body kicks and the things like that played a factor with Dominic Reyes. I'm colorblind, and you go, look at Reyes' rib cage. It's all bruised up. And I was looking at the wrong side. I go, I can't tell the difference. I must just be colorblind. And then he turned, and the camera angle switched or whatever, and I saw the other side, and I was like, oh, my God, that looks like a tattoo. I mean, it was just like a glob of red. So
and that took a step off of Reyes, too.
It did. And the same thing happened with Costa when he fought Israel Adesanya. So I think that both of these guys, if a similarity in their most recent matchups is neither of them fought people that were engaging in the fight all that much, which lend to their style of picking you apart at the beginning, slowing you down, and taking some of your what's the word I'm looking for? Your volume away.
Yeah.
So Izzy, you know, you're gonna give Izzy, a feel out round when he's just gonna touch you. It might not hurt all that bad for you to get hit in the calf 4 or 5 times, in the thigh 4 or 5 times, in the ribs 4 or 5 times. But by the time round 3, round 4 comes around, you're gonna be feeling that, and you're not gonna be able to perform at your highest speed. And Jan kind of had the same sort of thing happen with him. Luke Rockhold was feeling it out, and before you knew it, he wasn't able to compete. Same thing goes with Dominic Reyes. He was very slow because remember we were talking about how this match, because there's a vacant title on the line, they're going to be very calculated. He was almost gun shy instead of calculated, and that's what gave Jan these openings to just start tearing the body down like a lumberjack, chopping a tree, and then before you know it, the tree's falling down. So Izzy and Jan are both used to seeing those types of looks, and I think that in their fight, when they fight each other, they're going to not be presented with those same situations, and Izzy's going to have somebody that's calculated against him but not gun shy, and vice versa. Jan's going to give him the same sort of thing.
Yeah, and not to get too far ahead here, but if Izzy is, and I guess we can get into early predictions here in a second, but if Izzy is to get over on Jan, I do see this as one of those things where Izzy, because we know he doesn't cut that much weight to get to 185.
Right.
So he's probably going to put on a few pounds to get to 205, but his style is not being bigger and stronger than the other guy. His style is being more calculated,
elusive,
more precise, and more elusive. So I think that you're going to see somebody, if he can get past Jan, who is going to try to defend both belts.
Yeah.
Because making 185 is a breeze for him.
Right.
You know, we watched him on the UFC Embedded just recently, and he was playing ping pong to cut weight.
Yeah.
I mean, how many fighters out there envy a guy that can put on a sweatshirt and play a couple of games of ping pong and be on weight?
In other words, he wasn't essentially cutting weight.
Yeah, Paulo Costa was literally like a snake coming out of his skin, like type of weight cut, and I think that's what ultimately cost him. And I think Paulo should probably go up to 205, but that's a subject for a different video. But Izzy is somebody who can, I think, jump back, and I think the 20-pound weight difference actually might play in his favor a little bit because he can be a lighter 205er. He can easily pop back down and get to 185. So that being said, why don't we get into early predictions? I'm leaning towards Izzy. Who are you leaning towards?
I'm leaning towards Izzy as well, and there's no slight to Jan Blachowicz. I think he's the right guy to be fighting Izzy, and he definitely deserves the shot. There's going to be a big speed difference, in my opinion. I think Izzy's going to come in there and look like he's moving on high speed compared to Jan. That means Jan has to be twice as precise, and when he does strike, he has to strike with some serious power.
It's got to be devastating.
Because when you give up speed for strength, you usually, that works for you if you connect. But if you can't connect, it's just a swing and a miss type of night all night long. Izzy, we know he's going to be precise. We know he's going to be fast. And, he looks fast against 185ers. So when you add 20 pounds on somebody, like I said, I probably said it a couple months ago, if you think that weight adding and weight subtracting doesn't matter, strap 10 pounds on your chest and then go for a run and then take it off and feel how much lighter you feel, how much quicker you actually run that mile. That's why people, it's when with marathon runners, with anything, you start to see them come down in weight and come down in size, and then their times go way up. And that's the same sort of thing with fighting. Their volume goes way up, their speed goes way up. So I'm leaning towards Izzy right now. We'll obviously get into that because it's looking like this fight might not even happen till the second, third, or fourth month of 2021.
Yeah, which is a surprise to me that they announced it so early, seeing as it's so far out. But I guess they had to keep the Izzy excitement rolling and the Jan excitement rolling, for that matter, because 205 they have a champion now.
And realistically, there's not much for them. There's no dates for them. I mean, they could always put them on top of a card, but they're going to save it for a big pay-per-view card at the beginning of next year. And there's also, Jan's having a child. Early next year or maybe at the end of this year. I can't remember. But he wants to get that done before he starts to focus on this fight camp, which, you have to respect that. And then other than that, there's not any major things happening at 205. And then there's some big fights and potential number one contender eliminators happening at 185 that Izzy just has to sit back and kind of watch.
Some things need to happen at 185 that Izzy's not involved in before you can make a compelling fight there. And I agree that I think Israel Adesanya is probably going to win this fight.
He'll probably be the favorite.
Yeah, I would like to look at the betting odds and see, but I do believe Jan Blachowicz is going to make it more competitive than Paulo Costa.
Yeah.
And I think it's going to come down to Jan is going to have his flurries. He is going to have his moments, and it's going to come down to, for Jan, how much damage he can do in those flurries and how bad does he get countered. Because we know Israel Adesanya is going to counter the flurries. Jan running in is going to give him what he wants. So how bad is he going to get countered, and then how much damage can he do when he is coming forward and pressing the pace.
Yeah.
And I think that's what it's going to come down to.
Yeah, it's a very exciting matchup. I think the UFC is very smart for making this fight because Izzy is one of those rare guys that is able to make weight in basically fight in a weight class that he doesn't have to cut for, but has the frame to fight in the one just above him.
Yeah.
And with the way these two divisions are working, with the way he's wanting to stay active, everything about Izzy right now screams out champ squared. He's not saying champ, because that's Connor's thing. He's going with champ squared. Everything to me, the writing on the wall is that Izzy can and will be champ. And not only a Conor McGregor style, Henry Cejudo, Daniel Cormier, where you get the belts, you don't really defend like that. I think more of an Amanda Nunes style champ squared, where he can and will bounce back between 185 and 205, if of course he can get past the Polish power from Jan Blachowicz.
Yeah, it's a great assessment. And just one last question before we wrap this.
Yeah.
if Izzy can grab the 205 strap, does the Jon Jones fight happen immediately thereafter, and does it happen at 205?
I think yes, just because of the lack of depth at 205. Obviously, things can change in the next 6 months, and there could be somebody that emerges very quickly at 205. And Izzy may have some things, his hands tied a little bit and some obligations at 185. So I'm not going to say that it is guaranteed to be his next fight after Jan Blachowicz if he wins, but I do see at the end of 2021 Jones and Izzy fighting most likely at 205.
Yeah, and I see Jones and Izzy fighting. Izzy has said Raider Stadium in Vegas. He's now starting to talk about Cowboy Stadium in Texas, which just for us, I would prefer that. That's a 3-hour drive down the road, and that would be awesome. So I do think that fight, with the magnitude of that's going to be, will need to have fans there
for sure.
And so I think that they will. Izzy's talking about late summer. Maybe even UFC Fight Week, which is in July, I believe. I don't think it happens that soon, but because I think the Jan fight happens. I think they said February or March, yeah. And so then I think Izzy, it'll probably be late third quarter, early fourth quarter of 2021, if things in the world have settled down a bit by then. And I think they get him in there, big stadium with fans. So depending on how that all falls, I do think that Jon comes back down to 205 if Izzy can grab the strap.
Yeah.
If Izzy can't grab the strap, I don't think Jon comes back down to 205.
And one other thing is, Izzy is 20-0. Khabib right now, pound for pound, number one, and nobody's denying that for the UFC.
Jon Jones is denying that.
Right behind him
vehemently.
Right now, Jon Jones is not denying that Khabib is the best pound for pound fighter right now. But as far as GOAT status goes.
True.
As far as GOAT status goes, Jon Jones is still number one on a lot of people's rankings, and rightfully so. But at 20-0, and a lot of those, all the last few fights have been for a title. Now he's going to champ, something that Jon Jones hasn't done. I think it might be smart to have Izzy Adesanya fight a few more times. Let's just say he can get to a 23-0, a 24-0, and then for his 25th fight, and let's just say he's champ. Let's just give him all the benefits of the doubt. Let's just say he's 24-0 at the beginning of next year or something like that. And he's champ, bouncing back 185 and 205, and then he fights Jon Jones, and let's just say he can win, and he becomes 25-0, beating Jon Jones in Jon's division, all of that stuff. That might line him up for perfect number one spots in the GOAT conversation.
Yeah, you never know.
If Khabib's 30-0, he's considered the GOAT, the pound for pound. 25-0. The last 10 fights were all title fights.
Yeah, see, that makes a big difference.
All of these things, I would be hard-pressed to not give him the GOAT status.
Yeah. I think the Polish power would say not so fast.
Yeah, he thinks I'm skipping over him and all the other top contenders, the Darren Tills, the Robert Whittakers ×2, all that stuff. But if all of that happens, let's just say if he can get to 25-0 in that 25th fight, be against Jon Jones at 205, he gets the job done.
Yeah, then
does he go down as the GOAT? I think he probably does.
If all of that happened the way you just described, it would be very hard to deny him of that, especially with an unblemished record, as you said, undefeated, 4 less wins, than Khabib if it were to be 25-0. Right. But however, many more title defenses and in multiple weight classes. It'd be very hard to deny that.
Yeah.
But it's very exciting. I'm super excited. Guys, what do you guys think about this fight? Are you stoked about the fact that Izzy's moving up to 205? Would you have rather seen him stay at 185 for a bit longer? And then give us your predictions. You guys always come up with some great predictions and good reasons for them. So we always love to engage in the comments with you guys. And then again, guys, we have set up an email address, thebarnhillbros@gmail.com. Message us your questions. You can do it in video form. You can do it in text form. As soon as we get some questions and a few of them, we're going to start to answer them and do fan question videos.
Yeah, so, and if you send in a video, you might just see your pretty old mug right here on the video with us.
Somewhere right here.
Somewhere in there, yeah.
Yeah, guys, thanks so much for watching, as always, and we appreciate it. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and check us out on audio where you listen to podcasts. And as Nick says, what do you say about driving and watching YouTube?
Don't drive and watch YouTube, but definitely drive and listen to podcasts. Barnhill Brothers being the number one on your list. And Until next time, have a great day.
That's it, guys. Thanks so much.